Brandon Hyde is fired as the manager of the Orioles as Mike Elias makes a move, frustrated with the Birds' horrible start. Hello, everybody. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is Orioles Digest. Just moments ago, the Orioles announcing that Brandon Hyde has been fired. I believe Brandon Hyde is a scapegoat, but we see this happen in baseball all the time, and in all sports, somebody has to be held accountable, and you can't hold accountable all 9 guys in the lineup or all 5 guys in the rotation or all 8 guys in the bullpen. So what happens? You fire the manager. I'm going to tell you why I believe Brandon is a scapegoat in just a moment, but there's a lot to get to first. I want to begin, if I could, with the Orioles statement here. I'm going to call it up here. Let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to read it to you just in case you can't see it. This just was put out moments ago by the Orioles. It says the Orioles today announced that Brandon's been relieved of his duties as the head of baseball operations. The poor start to our season is ultimately my responsibility, said Mike Elias. Part of that responsibility is pursuing difficult changes in order to set a different course for the future. I want to thank Brandon for his hard work, dedication, and passion all these years, and for returning the team to the playoffs and winning an AL East championship. His many positive contributions to this organization and to Baltimore will remain. We wish he and his family the best. He goes on to write, Hyde is somebody I've come to know and deeply admire. This is actually from David Rubenstein. Hyde is someone I've come to know and deeply admire, not only for his extensive knowledge of baseball, but also for his exceptional leadership as a manager. I'm grateful for his accomplishments. However, sometimes, as is the case in baseball, change becomes necessary. This, we believe, is one of those moments. The Orioles have also fired Major League Field coordinator and catching instructor Tim Cossins, and Tony Massolino, the third base coach, will be serving as interim manager for the Birds. He's been the third base coach for the past 4 years or so. He's also worked in various minor league capacities as well. And the bench coach Robinson Chirinos will remain in the same role as well. So, Mike Elias making the announcement. Look, obviously, he had the blessing of David Rubenstein to do this. But here's the problem I have with this. First of all, we as Orioles fans owe Brandon Hyde such a debt of gratitude for what he was able to do. To hang in there through a rebuild, to lose day in and day out with very little talent, and then to turn it all around in a relatively quickly amount of time. Yes, we can talk about the deficiencies. We can talk about the lack of scoring runs and getting knocked out, in the playoffs the past 2 years, and a horrible start to this year's season. Yes, all of those things are true. But what is also true is, unless there is something we don't know, and this could be true, maybe Brandon Hyde did lose the clubhouse. Okay, maybe he did. And we'll find that out over the coming days. And of course, if the players don't have faith in their manager, then you make a change with the manager. But there were very few indications that the players had lost faith in Brandon Hyde. I think he's a scapegoat, number one. Number two, he wasn't exactly given a ton to succeed with this year either going into this season. And that's squarely on this man, Mike Elias. I mean, he didn't, Brandon Hyde essentially wasn't given much in the way of starting pitching by any stretch of the imagination. Luckily, Sagano has been outstanding. Luckily, Zach Eflin, except for his stint on the DL, has been on the IL, has been outstanding. Yes, the lineup isn't hitting. The lineup has been atrocious. There have been problems with the bullpens. We're not going to debate the statistics, and we're going to get to the stats in a moment of just how bad the Orioles have been. But a dozen guys on the IL. Brandon Hyde held accountable for basically playing with half a team. And the guys on the IL are top-notch guys. The Grayson Rodriguez's of the world are on the IL. You know, you have the slugger you brought in, Tyler O'Neill, on the IL. I could go through and through who's injured. So I believe Brandon Hyde is being scapegoated. I understand why. You read between the lines in the statement from the Orioles that I just read to you. Sure, read between the lines. And it's a baseball move. A change had to be made. And look, we may say in 3 or 4 months, this was the kind of kick in the pants that the Orioles needed to wake up and start hitting with runners in scoring position. But there are deeper problems now with this organization. Why so many injuries? What's wrong with the approach at the plate? So again, I just say it again, it pains me to see Brandon Hyde go because, A, he gave so much to this city. He turned this team around and, you know, and as recently as a week and a half ago, he had the full support of Mike Elias. We all know what that means when somebody comes out and says full support. It means you're going to get fired within 10 days. So, you want to look at the metrics behind why this happened? We can do that. I mean, no, I guess there we go. We can start here with the overall statistics, except there's nothing here that you all don't know already. You want to go down. I mean, the Orioles have the 27th worst run percentage in all of baseball. They're 25th in runs. They're 19th in bases. 29th in run differential. I mean, you want to keep going? I mean, the batting average is 25th in the league. Plate appearances because we're not being patient. So look, we all know the statistics aren't there. We know the record isn't there. We know the Orioles have struggled mightily. The ERA that the Orioles have is 28th in baseball at 5.38. So no, you're not going to, if your players aren't producing this badly, you're not going to win. And so we come back to what we call baseball, which is Mike Elias wasn't going to go. So Mike Elias made the decision along with David Rubenstein that Brandon Hyde needed to go. I want to get your thoughts in the comments. I will just sum up mine, which are, I believe Brandon Hyde is a scapegoat. I personally wish him well. I think he's been amazing for the city of Baltimore and for the team. And I think that you can't blame a guy when you got a dozen players on the IL and you basically weren't given a whole lot to work with this year. Again, I caveat this by saying, and I'm sure there'll start to be rumors coming out about how he lost the clubhouse and how people didn't have faith in him. And did he make some questionable moves? Yes, but you can second guess every single manager out there, every single decision they make with pulling a starter, every single decision they make with a pinch hitter, every single, decision with the approach. I'm frankly surprised we didn't see more of the staff gone today. The strength and conditioning. What about that? The hitting coaches. What about that? But again, the headline, Brandon Hyde out as the manager of the Baltimore Orioles. Tony Massolino will be acting manager as the search goes on. This is breaking news from Orioles Digest. I'm Jon Leiberman. Like, subscribe, do all the things.